welcome to Real Talk with Sean, everybody. This evening, I have the pleasure of speaking with Miss Kyshiya, and we are going to be discussing mental health. I want to thank you so much for joining me, Miss Kyshiya, and accepting my invite.
No problem.
I think that you're a very strong woman. The fact that you're sharing your story with everyone online, on social media, and people can be brutal on social media, but the fact that you're doing that is letting others know that they're not alone. Don't feel that there's no one else that may be feeling like you're feeling or going through mentally or physically what you may be experiencing. For that, I feel that you're a very strong woman, and I'm just happy that you're here with us.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. My first question to you is, at what age did you start cutting?
Age 11, 11 years old.
What triggered or happened that even made that thought at that age? Like, that's a young age. So had you ever seen anyone do it?
No, I've never seen anyone do it. I think it was just like a spur of the moment thing. I was feeling some type of way. I need to release, the pain I was feeling. That's just the first thing that came to mind.
That's actually that's wow. Because cutting, like, you had never heard anybody heard of it or saw anybody do that, and that because you were going through something, that is the way that you chose to deal with that pain.
hmm I felt like I hid it, you know, and I felt like I couldn't trust anybody because you know, I came into foster care at 10 years old. My first foster home was very abusive, and that's what um, got me to start self harm. And that's also the age I had my first suicide attempt. Um, I had overdosed. I almost took my life. Yeah, that was just a way of coping.
Yeah, I can understand that. So I can gather from what you just told me that there was you felt, or not only did you may not have felt that, there was no one else in your life that you trusted enough to let them know that you're having these thoughts about self-harm or suicide.
No,
So do you know your biological parents? Like, how did you end up in foster care?
so my mom was in prison. She went to prison when I was 5 years old. At that time, I went to go stay with my aunt. Um, at that time, I also didn't know my dad. I didn't meet my dad until I was 15. But my aunt ended up giving up her rights, and I ended up in foster care at 2. Um, Fast forward a couple years or 5 years, I'm with my mom. My mom got out in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she took me to go meet my dad. She actually found him on Facebook, and we ended up having a DNA test done, and then boom, he was my dad. Um,
Did that make you happy?
yeah, it did at the moment.
Okay.
Right now, I'm not actually talking to my dad.
Okay. Okay. So do you feel that cutting and suicidal thoughts, do you feel that they're the same thing, or are they do they come together?
It can, but I don't feel like they're the same thing. I feel like cutting. Well, it depends on the person. You could be doing it to release pain. You could be doing it as a distraction from your mind. It's a lot of different reasons you could be doing it for. But when it comes to being suicidal, you want to die, and that doesn't always like in that way they're the same, because usually when people are suicidal, they cut. Um,
Hmm.
but well, some people would ask how they cut. So yeah.
Amazing. So what you're saying is that from your perspective, suicidal people will cut, but
hmm
people that cut may not be suicidal.
Right.
Do you feel that depression plays a part in both?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, when before you, so once you started cutting, You feel like you had nobody to talk to. How did it get to a point where or did you end up talking to somebody? Like who found you? How did somebody find out that you were cutting so that you could be on the path you're on now where you're getting help for it, I'm assuming. Because I
Yeah.
know that you were in the hospital not too long ago. So did you get help? Like how when did that come about? Like you starting to get help or trying to um deal with whatever thoughts you were having?
So after my first attempt, that's when they found out I was, self harm and everything. Because I would always wear long sleeves, so nobody would know. But after that, that's when they found out. They saw my
And when you say they, that means your foster parents.
yeah, my foster parents, my workers, the hospitals.
Wow. Wow. So the thoughts you were having, like, can you tell me a little bit about the thoughts you were having? Was it a lack of self-love? Did you feel unwanted?
Yes, it was that, and just feeling like I don't really have a place in the world. You know what I mean? Because after I was placed into foster care, it was really unexpected. I would just woke up one day, told I had to go to court, and then boom, I was gone. But like, I felt like nobody wanted me here. Obviously, nobody wanted to deal with me at the time. Um, and I felt like I didn't have anybody, unwanted, like you said.
Yeah. So that was at 11. And
Mhm.
may I ask how old you are now?
I'm 20.
So from 11 and now 20, you mentioned that, your mother's back in your life. You met your biological dad. You're currently not on speaking terms.
Mhm.
When you got back with your mother, I'm assuming those thoughts never went away.
No. I do want to say that my mom is no longer alive. She passed away in 2022.
So,
But at the time, it's okay. At the time, I was actually in a group home. She would come get me from the group home so I could see the family and everything. So,
okay, all right. So from the time you got back with her, after you initially started cutting, were you quote unquote what people would say, okay?
no,
So the depression, the thoughts of not wanting to be here or feeling unwanted, those never went away.
no. I was still in the group home at the time, which also made me feel it still made me feel like, nobody wanted me, nobody cared. Because I felt like if they cared, then I wouldn't be here. I would be at home, with my family. But don't get me wrong, my family loves me. I have a loving family, they care about me.
Mm,
I'm actually with family now. I'm not in group homes anymore.
mm.
Um, but at the time, that's just how I felt.
Yeah.
And I was still going to psych hospitals. I was still attempting self harming and everything. And at the same time, it was also because I was angry and I don't like hurting other people. So what I did was hurt myself, but
Hmm.
not knowing that in doing that, I would still be hurting other people because people care about.
That is very true.
Me.
That is very, very true. I like that you said that because I know ultimately it's about your life, like you're the one hurting, but at the same time, when there are others that do love you, it affects them as well. And not to take the focal point is on you because you're the one going through the mental crisis at the moment. And so, I not to take the attention off of that, but I do agree, at the same time that one may harm themselves or take themselves out, it does affect the people that do love you, for those that have people in their life to love them. Because I can, this is a huge world, and I'm pretty sure there are others out there that don't have anyone, but that's exactly why I do what I do to let anyone know that I care. I may not be able to help or change the thoughts, but there are people out here in the world that really do care about even your stranger, because you're a human and you matter. So I'm glad that you even said that you know that your family loves you and you know that what you do to yourself affects them emotionally. So that's good that you're, aware of that part. Now, being in foster care, did anyone ever harm you? Like, were you in, I know foster care can be brutal, but did you have loving families that you could have went to, but because you didn't trust anyone, you kind of chose not to go to them?
So I've never really had a choice in where I gone. But I've never also I probably only had one good place. Every other place I've been to, I've been either physically, verbally, sexually, in some way abused. So I've only been to one place. There, the people there really showed, that they loved and cared about me. So that's the only place, I ever felt like home. I've never really felt like, anywhere was home. So being there, it was something.
And that's sad too, because when you don't have what the average child may have, which are parents, grandparents,
Mhm.
uncles, whoever, taking them, that even though they can harm you as well, but a stranger, you really, don't know what they're going to do. And the foster care system is just so messed up because, like yourself, there are so many men or boys, girls, and women who have been sexually abused, physically abused, verbally abused. It's sad to hear that, and you would think that someone would take an innocent child in to really help them and love them and show them that they do matter, but instead you got these adults out here that will do the reverse of that and actually harm them more than they're already harming being in foster care, because
Right,
everybody wants love, so that's, I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. And I can only imagine the part that that plays in your mental health today, because you that's something that you don't get over. You just learn to move forward in life and kind of deal with it, but you never, anyone who's ever been abused mentally, physically, or sexually knows you don't get over that. You just kind of cope because you don't have no choice. You're here, you got to live. So
right. It's kind of like you don't get over it; you just go through it and
yeah,
deal with it.
yep, I can only imagine how that plays a part. What are some triggers that make you still today, or do you do that today?
I actually haven't self harmed in a while, but I can say that when I did, it was more of just feeling alone, and like I had so much stuff going through my head. See, me myself, I self harm as a distraction from my mind, and my mind is always constantly going, 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 going. So I feel like, well, if I focus on this pain, then I can't think about. You can only think about one thing at once. I mean, yeah, only think about one thing at once, and like, that's just what I did.
Wow. And that is crazy because I never thought about it that way.
Mhm.
Never thought about it. I don't cut. I do know a couple of young adults that have been cutters or that are cutters. Um, but I never, I understand. Let me not say I understand because I'm not there, but I can assume what I want to assume why. Let me say that.
Right.
But the fact that you said that really hit home, and to anyone that sees this video, I think that puts things into perspective. The fact that you said, so we all have thoughts, racing thoughts that come through our mind, especially those who have been through traumatic experiences. And so the fact that you said, you know, your mind can be racing, but typically there's one thought at a time. And if
Right.
your mind would focus on the pain of that as opposed to those other things that are driving you probably insane at that moment.
Yeah.
I never ever thought about it that way. Of course, I'm older. I've heard of cutting. Like I said, I don't know a lot of people, but that really put it into perspective for me because I never understood why one would take that route. Um,
Mhm.
because I get I don't get it, but I can understand suicide. You literally don't want to be here. I always felt like cutting was a cry for help. It's like you want to still be here, but you don't know how to cope with the thoughts that are in your mind. Do
Right.
you agree with that?
Um, I don't know. Because I feel like some people they, got so used to they wanted help and they didn't get it.
Yeah.
And now they need help, but they don't want it. So it's like some people I feel like some people don't want the help. And
Wow.
so they're really just trying to, take the pain away.
Wow. Wow. So you don't cut anymore. Do you have depression as well?
Yes, I have depression, BPD, anxiety, PTSD, and bipolar.
Wow. Can you explain to those who do not know what BPD is?
Yes, BPD is bipolar personality disorder. No, it's borderline personality disorder, and it's basically uh, I don't really know how to explain it. I know how it feels, but it's just hard to explain.
So
Um,
explain.
I guess from my perspective, I don't know.
Tell me how it feels, because I think that can, because you may not know the definition. You just know you have it, but you know how it feels, and that's one thing you know for sure.
Right. BPD really it makes you feel like you're different, different than everyone else. In my opinion, everybody is going through something. Um, so everybody is the same in a way, but it makes you feel like you're different, that nobody will ever understand you. Um, it kind of is hard to deal with because certain things, for instance, I I have depression, right? And sometimes I just feel like I don't know. It's just hard. I don't know. BPD is in the feeling and it's hard to explain. And I feel like only somebody with BPD, could understand it.
Well,
I
from what,
don't really know. Maybe somebody else could explain it better, but
yeah.
it's just like a feeling. You don't never, you don't want that feeling. Like having BPD is something.
That's one thing we know. You don't want that feeling, right? I can agree with you on that one. I can agree with you on that.
It can mentally drive you insane. Like yeah.
So what do you do to cope with those thoughts or feelings? What is a coping method that you can share with anyone else that may be experiencing some of the disorders that you have?
So as a kid, I never used to talk. I would literally, you could be talking to me and we will be having a staring contest because I wouldn't say one word to you. But now I actually talk about my problems, and a lot of people, I get that a lot of people, they don't like to talk because they don't trust people. Like me, it's hard for me to trust people, or they don't feel like other people will understand where they're coming from. But I say talk. Um, as long as you're holding that in, it's the more it's gonna no, the more it's gonna hurt you. And you hold it in long enough, you're just gonna explode, and it's not gonna turn into anything good. So I just say let it out. That's the best way, whether it's to a therapist, a psychiatrist, or a friend, a family member, just anybody. Just find somebody to talk to. You will feel better. It might not make you feel, it might not take the pain away, or it might not get rid of your depression or whatever you're going through. But at least it makes you feel better in the moment because somebody is listening, and that's all anybody wants and needs. Somebody to listen to.
I like that you said that because two things. One thing you said was in the moment. And that's all we
Mhm.
can do is live in the moment. And I kind of live by that now because I mean that's all we have is the moment. And so rejoice in that and kind of push through from there. I also agree with you on we all desire, need, want, whatever word you choose to throw in there, someone to see us and hear us. And that's that I believe we all deserve, to know that we do matter. You don't have to love me, but at least let me know I matter. I deserve
Right.
to be here as well. And I agree with you on that. Um, I also there was something you said on your page that really that I loved, and that was depression also looks like this. I think you said it like that. It was like, but you were showing smiles and happy times, and you had like these clips that you put up on your page, and I love that. I thought that that was really good because depression doesn't always mean that you're sitting around in a funk. You can be depressed and still smile
Right.
and live, and I really love that you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. With this, I know you were recently, if I'm, I think I'm correct because I follow you and I'm watching you. I
Mhm.
talk about you because when I see young adults, it really, really gets to me because, like I said, I mean, I could be your parent. So you matter to me. And when I see you, it really like gets to my heart. I know that you were recently hospitalized, am I right?
Mhm.
What was that? What happened there? Did you have another? I know you said you haven't cut yourself, so I know it wasn't that. Did you have a breakdown?
Yes, I had a. I just was going through a lot. Dealing with relationships where I thought people cared and they didn't. Friendship, whether it's a friendship, a loving relationship, no partnership, no matter what, like it was just a lot for me. And I just couldn't take it anymore. So I ended up overdosing. I did have to get, brought back to life. Uh, but luckily my sister was there and
Good, 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 good. I can't tell you no more of that because I don't know how it feels to be in that headspace at that moment. But I would love it if you would know that nobody else is more, no more, no, not is not more important than you. Because like you said, whether it's a lover, a friend, any type of that word relationship that had let you down or harmed you, hurt you, they're not worth you doing that over. Apparently, and I know you may think about this too. It's just one more voice telling you this. Apparently, you're meant to be here because
mhm,
nothing that you've done thus far has taken you out. You know,
right.
don't want you to find other ways, but you're meant to be here. That's how I found you. And that's how so many others that are on your page. And I read the comments, and of course you got your idiots out there, but you have a lot of encouraging people on your page, and these are strangers. So I'm just one other stranger coming along, letting you know that you matter and you need to keep fighting the good fight, and not let anyone else deter you from that. And even if they hurt you, um, it's 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 them, not you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not the problem. Even if you did,
They're just hurting themselves, and I look at it that like they're just hurting themselves, and they need a way. That's their way of letting it out.
exactly, exactly. So people will take advantage of other people. We just know people just do that, whether it be cheating, it could be a friend betraying you. And I believe that that's their own demon and issue that they need to deal with. It's not mine to deal with, but that should not, and I hope that you don't allow that to deter you anymore and put you in a headspace that will make you feel like you don't deserve to be here or that you don't need to be here because you do. And you have a story to tell. And I know for a fact that your story is helping someone. The things that you're going through or have gone through, and you sharing that with the world is helping somebody. I promise you. Motion detected at front What door. About medication? Do you feel that, because I'm pretty sure you're on medication for the disorders,
Mhm.
You can't have that many disorders and not be on some,
Right.
you know? So what do you feel that the medication is helping you, or what does it do for you?
Um, well, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't found a medication that has worked for me yet. I probably tried hundreds of medications, but I haven't found the right one. But what I will say, it does help for some people. So I'm not gonna get on here and say, well, you shouldn't take medication, or you should, some people they don't, believe that medication is, good for you. They believe that like, what do they call it? Holistics or something like that. Um,
Holistic medicine?
yeah, holistic medicine. Some everybody has their own thing, own beliefs. Me myself believe that, whatever works for you works for you.
I
I don't
agree.
know.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing to me that there is no medication. I don't mean amazing like in a good way. Like it's
Mhm.
no medication out there had has had an effect on you to have the thoughts um, die down, I'm assuming, or stop. I know medication doesn't stop the feelings
Yeah.
because I mean, whatever you're going through has to be dealt with and you have to process it and
Right.
kind of not deal with it, but learn to have coping
Work through it. Yeah.
work through it. Exactly. So I know the medication doesn't do that, but it does replace some of the chemical imbalance that those of us, and because I'm going to include myself because I'm on medication as well for anxiety, depression. I believe that there are several others out there that suffer with this that don't choose to acknowledge it or choose to get the help because they feel that they can push through, and that's fine. If, like you said, medication isn't for everybody, and people choose to take the holistic way. I myself wanted chose to go that way at first because you couldn't tell me anything about me. I'm mentally strong. I will not be on anyone's medicine for anything. But I
Right.
submitted to it because I did what was best for me. And I feel good about being on it and I'll be a spokesperson for it. So I like that you said it hasn't worked for me, but I'm not going to downplay it for the next person because who am I to say that this is not what's right for someone else?
Right.
I like
Right.
that you said that. I just hope that actually I commend you first of all for the, just the fact of you going through what you've been through mentally and you physically going through what you've gone through and continue to go through mentally and not be on any because you're on no medication.
I'm on medication. I do take them. They just don't work. They don't.
I've heard others say that the medication doesn't work. Explain to me what that means for you.
So me personally, I believe that, medication, it doesn't do everything. It's not going to, do the work for you. You have to put the work in. Medication is just there to, stabilize everything, get everything at, the right level. The rest is up to you. So, it for me, it not working just means I literally feel the same all the time. Well, I'm not gonna say all the time, but the majority of the time, I'm feeling the same. Like I can take my medication and nothing changed. My mood, is still the same. My feelings are still the same. Usually, when medicine is helping people, their um their mood, gets better. It doesn't like um take away everything, but it helps in a way. It like just for anxiety medication, for instance, um, medication, that people who have anxiety and they take anxiety medication and it works for them. They stop feeling anxious.
Mhm.
You know, may not take it all the way, but it's not as bad. And that's the same thing with depression. If your medication is working for you, it doesn't take it all the way, but it doesn't feel as bad.
Mhm. Wow. That is amazing. I do agree with you. The medication cannot, because typically, let me say this, typically, unless you have a, well, all of it is a chemical imbalance.
Mhm.
But most people who have gone through traumatic experiences as a child, in my opinion, are the ones that make, not everybody, because I'm not a doctor. I just feel that a lot of people that have gone through traumatic experiences as a child end up with some form of depression or anxiety.
Right.
I do agree with you about the medication can only do but so much. The rest, as you said, is up to you. You have to work through therapy and take the coping skills or methods that they give you, and you have to use those. Um, and not everybody goes to therapy. I was one that felt that therapy couldn't do anything for me, but I submitted to it, and it's actually worked for me. And
Right.
I'm a better person today for going to therapy. So
I'm always gonna, stand behind therapy and support therapy.
it
I'm
does.
always gonna, because it really does help,
It does. It does. And
especially if you have the right one.
yep, you got it. And that's a keynote. You got to have the right one because I was one of those people that said, "Hey, a therapist needs a therapist," and that is true. That is,
Hmm.
I actually, a therapist does probably need a therapist because they're human and they've gone through things. The difference is they've gone to school to get they learn the brain, and it's more about the brain and the chemicals that the brain produces and how, you can deal with certain things. Like I said, they're not there to quote unquote fix it. You have to put the work in yourself and use the coping methods and skills that they give you. So they're not there
Hmm.
to cure you per se. It's just that they give you waves and there's someone to talk to. So I do believe in therapy. I didn't at one time, but I do believe in it today. And I like the fact that you just stamp that, you believe in it as well because they give you coping methods. If nothing else, they give you that.
And
What
even like not even that, it just gives you somebody to talk to.
say that for some of us, it gives you somebody to talk to that's not there to judge you or agree with the next party. They're simply there for you and your story. It's not about them, it's not about the next person. It's simply based and focused on your individual experiences, feelings, and thoughts. And so that is one of the things that I loved about therapy as well. And I
Mhm.
always be a supporter of therapy out today because you couldn't tell me therapy couldn't do anything for me at one time in my life. I'm strong, I'm athletic, and I'm mentally strong, but today I totally feel different and I'm an advocate for therapy. And I love that you continue to go to therapy. What is it that keeps you, you stop cutting? I know you
Hmm.
deal with the disorders, you have the medication that's not working for you. What keeps you pushing through?
Um, I feel like, um, you know, I have goals for the future, things I want to do, things I want to be, and I feel like I'm here for a reason. Like you said, I've always dealt with depression, but I've always known that I was here for a reason, whether it be to help someone or to do something, no matter what it be. 'Cause when I was a kid, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, for instance. Now I want to be a psychologist. I went to school for psychology, everything. But I, um, I just know one day, things will get better, things will turn around. Um, and things will be different. And why give up? The younger me, it would she wouldn't want me to do that. She went through all of that so I could be here today. So I don't want to let her down. Why give up now? And and she went through all of that, like all that pain, all that hurt, abuse, and she got through it. So why can't I get through this? And that's just how I look at it.
So I love how you referred to your child, the child you, and you do belong here, as you know, because clearly with what you've been through and what you tried to do, it has not worked. And I will tell anybody, you may not know your purpose. Sometimes it takes us a long time. You're still 20, you're still young, but I do believe psychology. I know you mentioned psychology. That is something I believe you would be good in because not only can you help others, you can relate to some
Right.
things that they may be experiencing as you, but when you've gone through a lot like you have mentally and dealt with things mentally and physically, it allows you to have see things from a different perspective, as opposed to those who claim they never have gone through things, they don't understand this, they don't see why you do this. I don't need your help. I need someone who
Right.
do something to help me because they can actually on a different level. Not on my level because they're not me, but they can relate because they've actually experienced it from their own perspective. I like how you refer to the younger you and now.
Mm,
The you now and the you then. The little girl or that little girl pushed through and she went through too much for you to give up now. And I absolutely love that. That is one of the things that I use for myself and refer to as myself with
mm,
traumas that I went through that have gotten me along because that little girl went through things and we need to show her, and in your case, you need to show her that it was not in vain. I got this. I got this. And then she needs to go to rest. She needs to go
mm,
and lay because I got this from here on out. And I
mm,
a lot of people that have gone through childhood trauma, that inner child within us that experienced those traumas, they need to be laid to rest so that you, as the adult, can now take over and move forward.
right.
I say that is because a lot of people don't deal with trauma and they're stuck in time because you're literally stuck at that age that you first experienced that trauma. And when you get therapy, in my opinion, it allows you to be able to not only get those coping methods and skills to deal with what you've been through, not deal with, but kind of move forward in life. It allows
Mm,
you to let that inner child go to rest because they actually will hold you back because you're still holding on to what you've been through. So I love how you referred to your child, the child you, and you do belong here, as you know, because clearly, with what you've been through and what you tried to do, it has not worked. And I will tell anybody, you may not know your purpose. Sometimes it takes us a long time. You're still 20, you're still young, but I do believe psychology. I know you mentioned psychology. That is something I believe you would be good in because not only can you help others, you can relate to some
right.
things that they may be experiencing as you, but when you've gone through a lot like you have mentally and dealt with things mentally and physically, it allows you to have see things from a different perspective, as opposed to those who claim they never have gone through things, they don't understand this, they don't see why you do this. I don't need your help. I need someone who
Right.
do something to help me because they can actually on a different level. Not on my level because they're not me, but they can relate because they've actually experienced it from their own perspective. So I can totally see you going into psychology. And I'm glad that I would say this. I believe that people that see their future, that actually have goals and plans for the future, they need to still be here because you actually have goals for a future. So I believe
Right.
that's another thing that keeps you strong and actually keeps you here is that you actually have goals. And what what, okay, if you ever have suicidal thoughts,
Mm,
go through a breakup. with that man. You're they guys, but nowadays you can't assume anything.
Right.
You date men, I can't. You can't assume anything no more. Whatever, whoever your loved one is, and you go through things with them, how will you deal with any type of pain mentally that you experience? Do you feel that that is still the way to deal with that?
I believe that's never been the right way. It's been, a way, to way to get rid of pain in the moment. But it's never been good. Um, I feel like I said, just talk to somebody, and that's just what I've been doing. I also believe that people who don't get me wrong, there are people who don't want to be here, and want to do they want to die. But I believe that if you have goals for the future and you want to be somebody in life and you want to get somewhere in life, you don't want to die. You just don't want to feel the pain that you're feeling, and that's how I am.
Yeah, I believe the same thing. I totally
Mm.
believe you just don't know how to deal with what you're experiencing and going through.
Right,
Because you can't have future plans and not want to be a part of the future.
right,
I can't say you can't, but you probably won't really talk
mm,
about the future because there is no future for you. So I hope and pray that you continue on the path that you're on right now because although you may have just had a bout where you were hospitalized for a mental breakdown, whatever you
mm,
experienced at that moment, as we said, we live in the moment, and every day is a new day, and we get a chance to do it right and to do it a different way. And so,
right,
I hope and pray that from here on out, you deal with things in a way of not to say there's not going to be hurt or pain, because that is the world we live in. You know, we have emotions and feelings, but I hope
right,
you don't take that where you feel as if you're the problem. You don't need to be here. You don't this. You don't. I hope you don't feel that because, as you know, and you stated it to me, you deserve to be here. You know that you have purpose. Mm.
right. And I also feel like one thing people who have BPD, they do things out of impulse. So sometimes we may do things and we don't even think about it. There will has been times where I've overdosed and I, you know, I didn't think about anybody else. It was just a spur of the moment thing from this with BPD.
That is that's crazy to me because not being a doctor, knowing the ins and outs of BPD, what it entails. Of course, I know what it is. I don't know everything about it. The fact that you just said that makes a lot of sense because I mean, we all have impulse thinking, and in that moment, we don't think about anyone else. We just think about what we're going through at the moment and how we're going to get through that. And we do things based off of that impulse. And so I can definitely relate to what you're saying about that. Never thought about it at all until you just said that. So I can understand things from what you just stated. That's amazing to me because I wouldn't have ever thought about that because most people are like, if you know you shouldn't do this and you know that, why would you do it? But there is a such thing as impulse thinking, and we react in the moment.
Right.
Excuse me. So I do, thank you. I do that was a lesson for me too, because I was not one of those people like that hardcore, but I just because I'm not there, it's like just don't do it. Just don't do this. Don't blah 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 blah. But in the moment, you're not thinking about anything about getting the pain away or whatever you're dealing with, getting that gone, because it can be overwhelming. And I do know about racing thoughts. because I've experienced them myself. So I do know about that, and it's not a good feeling, and you just want it to.
Right.
And I will say this to those out there that feel as if someone with anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, PTSD can just get rid of those thoughts. They don't, we, because I have depression and anxiety, don't just want the thoughts there. They become overwhelming. And I don't care where you try to put your thought on or what you try to put your thoughts on, those feelings that you're feeling, whatever you're feeling in that moment, they literally take control. Do you agree with
Right. Yes, I do. 100%.
it? I never, like I said, being an athlete, just pride myself on being mentally strong. I never ever, I would have been one of those people basically saying, think about this or just do that. And it don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Like you're
Right.
literally, I mean, when I say they grab a hold of you and there's nothing you can do
It's like impossible to,
until they're ready to release you, the
mm,
thoughts, whatever those thoughts are, they are going to take control. And so I definitely can relate from that perspective. I'm going through that. I don't have PTSD, BPD. I have anxiety and depression. So I can only imagine what you go through having those other disorders because I experienced the racing thoughts and the depression. And and it's funny because I tried my best to think about something else. And no matter what I did, the thoughts would go whoop right back to whatever my mind chose to think about. And it was always something negative. So it's never something positive because clearly that would be a good thing. So
right.
I can definitely relate to you from that perspective. And like I said, overall, I'm just glad that you have a future, that you have future thoughts in your heart and mind and goals. And I believe that if you continue on the path that you're on, um, not to say the thoughts are going to come up, they aren't going to come up, but please keep knowing that you're meant to be here and do your best to fight the good fight. If that's all I can say about that part, because it's a disease of the brain. And
Right.
doctor informed me back in the day when not back in the day, but it was years ago when I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression. It's not, it's just like cancer, like a disease of the liver or the heart, or,
Just in your brain, in your mind.
exactly. And so I think when we start to look at it from that perspective, we can relate more because I never understood it. When she put it in that way, I'm like, oh, wow. Because she's like, it's not a death sentence. It doesn't mean you're going crazy. It's a disease of the brain. And so I'm like, wow, I never even thought about that because who would have thought you know what I'm saying? I thought I was fine, so
Right.
it's it's amazing. And I just want you to, you're a young black woman coming up and you're part of the next generation coming up. And I know you're going to do big things if you can continue to fight your mental battles. Uh, and I believe you're going to do good things out here. I truly hope that you go into psychology because I know that you can be a help to those. There's nothing like people who have experienced things that can help the next person.
Right.
I definitely am a firm believer in that. Who are you to tell me something and you don't even know what it feels like to have gone through this? But the
Right.
fact that you've gone through it from a mental perspective, I'm not saying doctors as far as cancer and the physical aspect. I'm talking about from a mental place. That's a whole nother battle within itself. I always say physical ailments don't have. I mean, they hurt. Taking nothing away from any of that, but when I say the mental battle is a big thing, woo! What made you get online and start to share your story, letting everybody know, that because you actually, y'all, she actually shows her scars from cutting herself, and her scars from cutting herself, they're deep. They're deep. And as a parent myself, like it really, really got to me seeing the scars on your arms. So What made you decide to share that your story with everyone?
So one day it started off with me just, just saying how I feel in the moment or at that time. And one day I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna make a video and I'm gonna tell my story. Because I realized from being in psych hospitals all the time and stuff like that, I realized that it was a lot of people who felt like they were alone in this world. So I'm like, well, I have a story. Other people have their own stories. Maybe they can relate. It can help me and it can help them. It goes both ways.
Mhm.
So I just got on there and just started talking. And from then on, my page just started blowing up after that.
It's just as simple as that. But you
Mhm.
said the most important thing. I know that I'm not the only one, and my story could possibly help the next person. There's never, I know in the moment we as individuals could, at that moment, first of all, you don't care what anyone else is going through. You just know what you're going through and you're trying to deal with that. But once the mind clears, you know that I cannot be the only one experiencing or feeling these feelings or having these thoughts. And the fact that you got online and started to share that is a big deal in my opinion, because as I've said probably about 3 or 4 times, you're not the only one that have,
Right,
that is going through this and continue to fight, and you're letting others know you got this, you can do this, and you're not alone. I too have these thoughts or feelings, so I implore you to continue sharing your story day by day and your experiences, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience. And again, I love how you show the positive side of yourself, because not every day is a bad day, and you were
right,
dancing and smiling and showing your beautiful smile and your beautiful face in a happy way. So I
right.
loved that video. I just watched that yesterday, I think, or maybe the other day. I don't know. I think you
Mhm.
just posted that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I just shows you I'm telling the truth how I watch you. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I just saw that. So that really made my heart smile to see you show that side of yourself. Got one last question for you before I let you go for the evening.
Mhm.
Will you promise to always spread peace and love in this world?
I promise, always.
Thank you. Please keep doing that. Keep sharing your story. And I want to thank you so much for accepting my invite and joining me. I have enjoyed speaking with you. And I know that your video is going to help someone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.